Wow! It's 2 minutes to late night!
All right, what's up, heroin spoons? Welcome to Pod Minutes to Cast Night.
No.
Strong start.
No, we don't know.
Coming right out the gate.
We don't
Listen.
know people's histories.
We know theirs now, and there was a lot of dramatic shots of heroin spoons.
It does whenever
Okay.
I see the heroin spoons in movies and stuff, it does kind of always look like caramelizing sugar, and so I am always a little bit like,
Yeah, I get that, but let's.
Do you want me to not do that? Would it make you feel better if I did not say that?
It's too late now.
We're now
we
into
riff
it.
too much on it now.
It does look like that. I always kind of think, I'm like, they're making candy.
Yeah, it looks like a candy making process.
Every set where he does heroin, or I guess just in his house, it looks like not a fun place to do any drug.
No, it looks terrible, and like it smells.
I have a lot of opinions on all of this.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, all right, here we go. All right, never mind. Welcome to Pod Minutes to Cast Night. It's the 2 minutes to late night podcast, where we just I don't know. We listen. We're changing what the show is, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do what we fucking want.
Yeah, we do what we want. We normally listen to bad albums. We're doing movies now. We're doing that's just what's going on.
Music-based movies.
Yeah,
Music-based movies.
But also, we're doing whatever we want.
But also we do whatever we
Fucking
want.
dude. There's no rules.
There's no rules in rock and roll,
Drew and I
dude.
literally just talked about Spider-Man 3 one episode. It was just two of us. That's an old movie that no one wants to remember. Anyways, before we get started, did anybody listen to anything they liked this week?
Oh, I've been listening to Old Town Road on repeat.
Get the
all
fuck
I'm listening to
what?
now.
What even? I don't...
Old Town Road. It's
not even. You missed the wave.
No, I didn't. It just had its second wave because he just put out the video the other day.
What is happening?
He just released a video. It's this little kid. He's like 19 years old, Lil Nas X, who put out this song called Old Town Road. And it's sort of like a hip-hop song with like a country beat going on to it. And it went super viral. Everybody was into it. Ended up on the top of the Billboard country charts. And then the Billboard country charts were like, oh, actually, no, he's not a country guy. And everyone's like, what does that mean, Billboard? And they're like, I don't know what you think it means, but it doesn't mean what you think it means. And they had this whole big back and forth where nobody was saying what they really meant. And then he got kicked off the Billboard charts. And then Billy Ray Cyrus came out, and he was like, actually, the song whips ass, and I'm going to sing on it, and you can't say no to me on the Billboard charts because I'm Billy Ray fucking Cyrus. And so now it's back on the charts, and it's like number one.
You really didn't
overall.
know anything about this, Jordan?
I've
It's been like
never heard of whatever is happening.
this has been all over the internet for like a month and a half.
Yeah, it's been like a good long month and a half. Anyways, the point is the song whips ass. It's really fun, and the video is really funny.
It's fine.
The video is funny.
The song is fine.
I think it's good.
I appreciate more what the song represents than what it sounds like because I don't care for country in general unless it's a 90s Shania Twain.
I do like a 90s Shania Twain.
Or
Anyways,
occasionally a Johnny Cash if I'm in a real situation.
I just, I get that this was probably like an internet trend, but I just, I'm real tired, you guys. I gotta kind of like pick my, like, I'm gonna get up in arms about something battles. And there's just a lot of battles going on. And even though I'm glad that this one has gone Little Nas's way, I just also don't think I have the energy or the capacity to give a fuck.
Yeah.
You know
well,
what
you
I
don't
mean?
have to anymore because now the
Yeah.
fight's over. Billy Ray's on it. It's sailing. That's
it got
what it's gonna be.
rectified. It all
Great.
worked out in the
Yeah.
end, and you didn't have to do shit.
Yeah.
I didn't have to. No
Look at
one
what a great
actually
job
has
you
to
did.
do anything.
Jordan, you did a great job.
I did a great job. Look, it's this. It's people. There's there's people. Trying to rewrite entire seasons of HBO for some reason. Like I'm so tired. I
think what you're reacting to, Jordan, is that boring people get up in arms about boring stuff. Mm-hmm. Like when it comes to the Game of Thrones stuff and whatever. But here's the thing. We can't talk about that too much or we lose our entire audience.
The new season was fine. It was fine.
I didn't see it.
There was nothing that wrong with it.
I have watched 2 episodes of Game of Thrones.
I know. No, you guys aren't in on it, but like people are mad about it, and I don't get why. It was fine. It's TV. What do you want?
I got mad at Game of Thrones for being gross. And
it was just super rapey, and then I was like, I'm good, and then 5 years later, it's like, everyone's mad how it ended.
I was like, wait, is this show gross? I'm like, yeah, man. You don't need to have it rewritten to not be gross. You just don't have to watch gross stuff.
Yeah.
That's literally all you got to do. People are like, man, I don't know exactly what happened, but people were like, man, this person became bad and killed everybody. I'm like, everyone does that on that show. Yeah. That's the whole show.
That's the whole show. That's what they do.
Doesn't sound super outrageous based on the other things I've seen on the show. What did you? I'm sorry we got there from the. I'm
actually equally unhelpful this week because all I've been listening to is Def Leppard.
It's amazing what he can do with one arm.
Guys, Photograph fucking rips.
It does.
It's a good song. It's summertime. It's warm and I want to listen to hair metal.
I love it.
Leave me alone.
Katie, you can listen to Animal. It's a good song.
Thank you.
I think that song has a very pleasing, clean guitar tone.
That's what I'm saying. I want to harmonize with my boys with our big hair.
Yeah.
I skipped getting my mullet trimmed to come record this. That's how dedicated I am to rock and roll, baby.
Do you guys remember there was that commercial that used to be on VH1 and stuff late at night that was... it was for one of those compilations.
Monster Ballads.
Was it Monster Ballads?
Yeah,
the one where it's like
Ballads.
Every bad boy has his soft side.
Yes! You think
it's all the hair guys playing piano.
Yeah. You think I didn't... Listen,
Did you own that?
I did not
that commercial
own...
came on TV every single day.
Yeah.
I did not own Monster Ballads, but they also had the 90s alt-rock version of it, which was Buzz Ballads.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Buzz Ballads and Monster Jam.
Yeah, so the difference is...
Monster Jam?
I think it's Monster Jam.
No, Monster Jam is the Monster Truck
Show. Monster Ballads was like, all the hair metal dudes playing piano, so it's very much just like Crying in the Rain, fucking,
You're right.
This is me.
November Rain and
thank you.
Every Rose Has Its Thorn.
This is me pretending to be playing Appetite for Destruction is what.
Beth wasn't on it. It was from the album we listened
to.
But
then God. Buzz, they're like, this works, so let's do Buzz Ballads. But Buzz Ballads was like Stained or like, I don't want the world to see me.
Oh, that's the Goo Goo Dolls.
Right, and everyone was like, not as good.
Did you know they had like some weird name before they were the Goo Goo Dolls? They were called like Sex Roach or something.
Yeah,
like
they always have that. That's every band has just like, yeah, we were once called Boogerface Thong Butt.
We were called Your Mom, but now we are the fucking the Jonas Brothers.
Every like 90s to 2000s like successful like radio rock band has some history where they're like, we're called something stupid, and then a producer's like, no, you're not.
Yeah,
is the thing.
What do you mean? We're called Dr. Pee-Pee's Good Time Journal. That's us. It's always long and nonsense, and it's just. And then they get renamed Train.
Anyway, this is a riff for 5 minutes ago, but Sunday on Monster Jam, Bret Michaels sings a sad song.
Every rose has a truck.
This is all very appropriate because when I was living in Portland, Oregon, 2 years in a row, the Monster Truck Show was on Valentine's Day, and you know your girl took herself to that.
Dude, hell yeah. Monster Trucks rule.
I've never been. I want to go.
Oh, we should go.
We should go.
We should go. I love Monster Trucks so much.
I do. I want to see Gravedigger, Jeremy.
Gravedigger's the best one.
Oh, where
I believe
Jeremy
it.
likes a
If
big
he's got
car.
his red lights on, that means he's ready to go.
That's great. I love that. I love that monster trucks and wrestling have like the same thing where it's like the spooky goth one is the best one.
Yes, of course it is.
They do have the best T-shirt.
Yeah, they always got the good merch.
Although now they have like really funny ones. Like when I was a kid, all of them were like named after the place they were from, and then there was Gravedigger, and that's why Gravedigger was the coolest.
Yeah,
because he actually had a brand.
From hell.
Yeah. But then now, like, all of them are just like, this one's called, like, Flex, and it's got just big human arms.
I want to know whose favorite one that is. I like the one that's two big arms.
I like the one that's fucking yoked.
Anyway, I listened to Yes this week.
So, all right.
Yeah,
We're all, like, on a wave.
we're on a wave. Look. I'm getting into Yes, so I'm just leaning into my hairline running away, you guys. All right, well, anyway, this week we watched the Netflix original movie based on the book about Mötley Crüe, The Dirt.
Yeah, and if you listen to any podcast me and Jeremy do besides this one, we've unfortunately been talking about this movie for like 6 months.
Yep, we've been talking about it for a very long
apologize.
time, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah,
We're going to keep talking about it. It's insane.
Hopefully it's over for me after this one.
The problem is that there's nothing in this movie that isn't worth commenting on.
Okay.
There's literally not a moment in this movie that there's not something to say about.
Yeah, well, okay, so... before we start, I guess we should talk about, like, do you have history with Mötley Crüe?
Mm-hmm.
What's your history with Mötley Crüe, Germ?
I mean, they're, like, a big enough cultural entity that I always knew who they were. But mainly, like, all I know them from is Tommy Lee being a 90s television figure. Like, he had kind of, like, a post-Mötley Crüe career similar to, like, Henry Rollins' post-Black Flag career, where he just kind of becomes a TV personality for a while.
I kind of get that, but it's weird because Tommy Lee was most famous for just being a person who had sex with another person on a videotape.
So that's the thing is, yeah, that's part of that part, though. Like, because he was on MTV all the time. He was in movies, like... He just appears all goddamn over the place, and that's where you know him.
It's really stupid.
Yes, I have seen the infamous Pamela Tommy Lee VHS tape, and it's not great, folks.
Listen, it was a different time. You can't view it through the same lens.
Well, it's like mostly that it's mostly not a sex tape. What it is mostly they're on their honeymoon and just like half naked the whole time, like having a fun time.
Having a fun time on a boat.
And like she's making fun of his flaccid dick, and he's like, "Yeah, it's not up right now," shit like that.
Oh my god.
Just like, just like dumb couple stuff. I had a similar experience with Mötley Crüe.
Yeah, you're from Long Island and you love hair metal. So.
Yeah, well, and also, like, my experience with hair metal was always through this weird lens of my family. Because my uncle is a session drummer for a lot of hair metal type acts. So, like, Mötley Crüe for me for a while was just like, just in the family, but like I didn't know them super well. I knew the hits, Yeah. And like, I knew them culturally. I do remember when the book first came out and like Nikki Sixx was doing the fucking the media rounds.
Right.
And I got a little fascinated with him because he's so up his own ass, and I love that shit. Like, he's just so up his own ass. He's just like... Which I guess you would be too, because once again, it's a classic story of getting famous when you're 19. But also that he died. So, like, that's a cool story. He's like, I died, man, and now I'm here. Don't do heroin. Nikki Sixx, buy the book. There would be no Avenged Sevenfold without my hair, so get...
Yeah. That's the whole thing. Because my experience with this band is I got into them because they were like Shout at the Devil is in this 90s horror movie called Idle Hands.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that movie?
Yes, with Seth Green.
Yes, Seth Green
and
died.
Devon Sawa.
Yeah.
And some other people, right?
Yeah, I remember...
The most 90s ass cast
It's
ever.
the most 90s motherfucking cast ever. I remember my friend invited me over in middle school to watch it because he heard there was a boob in it.
I think there is, yeah.
There is a boob in that movie, I think. But I remember watching the movie and just thinking genuinely that Devon Sawa fight. I like any movie where some guy fights his hand. For some reason.
Oh, I remember this fucking movie.
Yeah.
What is it? He like loses his hand and then they like put a serial killer's hand on him or something stupid like that.
Yeah,
No,
and it's horny.
It's really horny,
The
yes.
hand was really horny.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch bubs and stuff.
Yeah, the hand wanted to touch butts.
Yeah.
For sure. That was the thing.
I remember it put its fingers in the pencil sharp. Either way, I remember that whenever the I think the bully character came around, he would drive a monster truck and he would play Shout at the Devil. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I just liked that he had a high-pitched voice. And then I was like, I thought it was cool that they just looked like a bunch of evil drag queens. And then here's the funny thing is when I became a scene kid, I thought we were all trying to look like Mötley Crüe.
Right. Well, because, okay.
You're not wrong. You're not
that's,
wrong.
Well, I was
but
like.
That's so funny that's like what you. Like.
I was like, yeah, okay, yeah. Because I like. Because here's the thing. I was like fascinated with just like makeup and dresses and stuff just all my whole fucking life. So I thought that I was like, cool, evil drag queens. I'm into it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I thought that was the whole goal of being seen is that we were trying to look like Mötley Crüe, but we were too poor. Like, I thought that was the whole thing. And then when I found out that's not what everyone was doing, I was like, this is... What?
Well, the West Coast version of Scene Kids, I feel like we're trying to do that, at least not consciously, but like that they all were looking like, but East Coast version of that was the more traditional flat iron skinny jeans type zone.
Yeah.
But also is that what's happening to me right now? Because as you know, in 2019 I decided I wanted to grow a mullet, and it's coming along, and now it is green. And when I go back to my house, my roommate's going to shave the sides off again, and it's just going to keep getting longer. And I want to put beads in it at some point.
Machine Gun Kelly as Tommy Lee in this movie has that exact haircut.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is happening to you, Katie.
There was a guy who worked at my mom's bank when I was a kid. She worked at a bank, and this guy was like, I think he was a janitor there, but he had that haircut, the Tommy Lee like shaved side, long ponytail in the back hairstyle.
Yeah.
And he drove a hearse. What a lame but also really cool dude.
Yeah, I was like, what's his name? What's he up to?
No idea. Probably dead if I had to guess.
It's the day we are recording this is Dracula Day. So happy Dracula Day to you, janitor.
Happy Dracula Day, you guys.
Oh wow, I didn't even. It sneaks up on you every year.
Yeah.
Like a Dracula. But no, so that was my
like a Dracula. Hey.
But I love that.
I'm so filled with shit right now. I haven't pooped in 2 days.
Oh no, Katie.
It's making my riffs weird.
Love it.
One of the main things that I remember about Mötley Crüe from growing up is that, right, so Tommy Lee was a 90s media figure, and it's very easy to forget from the fact that he is the sex tape guy that he also was a musician at some point. You know, it's very easy to forget that. And the time that I was reminded of that was there was an MTV thing where Sum 41 played, and they were doing like a Beastie Boys song or something like that. And then at the end of it, they transition into Shout at the Devil, and they wheel out Tommy Lee on like a drum riser. But he's got like his huge, shiny, you know, rhinestone Tommy Lee double kick drum set. And there's like 4 stagehands just like struggling so hard to push it out into the middle of the stage. And they clearly meant for the audience to be like, holy shit, Tommy fucking Lee. But like you could tell everybody there was just like, hey, it's that guy from the sex tape.
Right, because if
yeah.
you're of our generation, unfortunately, that's just what you know him as at the time, and we're gonna get a lot of comments like, "You guys are so young." Guess what? We're not that young, so think about that before you write that comment.
But I do remember. I do remember a moment where I realized that Tommy Lee from Mötley Crüe and the Tommy Lee from television were the same person.
Oh, yeah.
Because he doesn't look like that on the
No, yeah, because 90s Tommy Lee is vastly different from Crüe Lee.
Yeah, he and Travis Barker looked exactly the same.
Yeah,
I have one more really funny. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but I remember also when I first heard about the Tommy Lee sex tape, I thought it was Tommy Lee Jones.
Woo! And
I would love to see a Tommy Lee Jones sex tape. I would love.
You're just being
especially if it's still Pamela Anderson.
Yeah, it's just Tommy Lee and Pamela Anderson
you're
on
like,
a boat.
Look at him. Glad he's having some fun in his golden years. I do
Look,
remember.
Listen, Toots, I can't do this for too long or I'll pass out. All right.
Oh man.
But I do. So I remember around late middle school, I tried to get really into Mötley Crüe because I was like, I thought they looked cool visually. I liked the one song. I listened to a bunch of albums. Kind of wasn't super into it. It wasn't really what I had heard Van Halen already, so I was like, this is like a less version of that. And then apparently Nikki Sixx wrote another book about doing a ton of drugs.
Really?
Yeah. It was called The Heroin Diaries, and I bought that one, and it was because I thought
that's the one I remember him going on tour promoting, because that was way earlier.
Yeah, I thought they were the same book because someone told me the Mötley Crüe book is like the most insane book of all time, and I read this one and I was like, this is pretty sad. This one's sad. I made like 2 chapters, and it's all just him telling stories about people coming to his house and him blacking out in the bathroom and I was like, this is depressing.
Cool guy.
Cool guy.
We should make a movie about him.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the movie, because there's a scene
movie
about how fucking twisted Nikki Sixx is very early in this movie, and I have a lot to say about it.
Yes. Let's start. I guess let's.
You've watched it the most recently, so maybe you should guide us through it.
I put it on in the background today while I was trying to take a shit. So I've also watched most of it again.
A feature-length shit attempt.
It's been a day.
It's been a day. The movie starts and it's Nikki Sixx as
Drew just texted us.
Yeah, what's up?
He says, "Let me know when you want to start."
Oh no.
All right. I did not. He didn't say anything, so let's call him in.
All right.
Let's call him in. Hey, everybody. Drew Kaufman, who originally wasn't going to be able to do this episode, can do the episode now, so he's called in. Hey, Drew.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Drew Kaufman, and I don't want to say that I understand the plight of women on the internet, but holy shit, reply, guys. Leave me alone. Tool sucks. Tool fucking sucks. That band sucks.
I did not listen to Jeremy and Drew's Tool episode, but I can just say that Tool sucks, you guys. Relax.
Here's the thing. I also do not like Tool. I will, however, defend that was one of the hardest episodes of any audio medium to make it through. You two
absolutely.
Were really on a fucking journey on that episode.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that if anybody was going to one day wake up and decide that they like Tool on this podcast, it would be either me or Jeremy, because we're walking, talking curmudgeons, which is what that music is for. And unfortunately, it's too curmudgeon-y for me, but not too much for everybody who decided to find out what my website is and email me directly.
Did that really happen?
There were like 3 or 4 emails, which has never happened before. So that was interesting.
Well,
yeah.
Hey, the dirt.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway.
Enough of this. Also, Jeremy, leave Bryan Cranston alone. What are you doing? You have any... It doesn't matter. Leave that show alone.
I'm almost done with it. I got like 4 episodes left.
All right. Yeah, I can't wait to the next time we hang out and you tell me why the Fly episode isn't good for some reason.
That's the best episode.
Yes, it is.
No, we're not doing this.
Okay.
No, you can't talk about that because it's Rian Johnson, and then Star Wars people will email you.
I think the
no.
Rian Johnson Star Wars is good.
I agree.
Hey.
All right.
Arf,
All right.
arf, 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 arf.
Okay. All right. Drew, what's your history with Mötley Crüe?
I don't fucking know. They're
Cool.
bad.
All right. Let's go into
Okay.
All right. Cool. Great.
So we have the party scene.
Yeah, well, we
We
have
meet
to
the
talk
boys.
about. Yeah, we meet the boys. A woman squirts.
Yeah.
Oh,
Women's
yeah.
Word.
But not in a way that actually, fellas, I
That's
just want
not
to
what
let you
squirting
know,
was like. That-
squirting does happen, but it's not going to be like a garden hose scenario. I'm sorry.
It's not like it's not like literally a super soaker under a chair. Like that's what. It was a super soaker that you bought on a commercial, and you were like, "This is going to be awesome," and it wasn't as strong as possible, but they were like, "We can use this to simulate squirting." Anyway, what did you say, Drew?
Oh, I said it's also probably not caught on a steady cam.
Yeah. Also, yeah, they show everybody. Vince Neil is having sex in a bathroom. The only time he has sex in this movie is in bathrooms. That's his kink.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's dressing rooms.
No, never for Vince Neil. It's in a bathroom every time, I think.
No.
No,
Nikki
he's
Sixx
no,
has
no.
sex.
Pete Davidson's girlfriend in his
Oh,
dressing
you're
room.
right. I thought it was a bathroom because it was white.
Although I will say, there's no evidence on the film to suggest that there is not a sink or shower or toilet in their dressing rooms.
Yeah, he's just got. I think he has to be in the vicinity of just like.
It needs to be 10 feet away from a toilet.
Yeah.
Because fun fact about Vince
I need to
Neil,
know
he-
that a toilet is nearby.
Yeah, because he uncontrollably shits.
Okay, I'm going to keep this going.
Yeah.
So we meet all the boys, and then we go into a flashback about Nikki Sixx's childhood, and I need to discuss this. Because
Yes.
this was clearly written from the viewpoint of Nikki Sixx.
Yes.
And he's like, when I was a kid, I was a fucking badass.
I was cool.
So cool. I got my bitch ass mom arrested, and then I was put into foster care. Now, I have no doubt his mom sucked. Like, I think, you know, it's easy to talk about shitty dads, but like no one talks about shitty moms. There's shitty parents everywhere, but like let's not act like it was a cool thing to do.
Well, here's that
Or
true.
the way
Also,
you open your movie
well,
about your little band.
okay. Here's the other thing. Katie brought up. I'm sure that his mom sucked. From what I saw in this movie, I'm not sure she sucked that bad. She's just had a boyfriend. And he's like, I don't like it when you have fucking boyfriends. And he's being loud in his room like a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And because of that, because of his mom having a boyfriend, and because she was like, hey, can you turn it down? We're in an apartment. He decides to cut his arm open.
Yeah, that's what he does, right? He cuts his arm
Yes.
open. I
And
knew
then
there was
calls
something with a knife.
CPS.
For some reason, I thought he stabs his mom or something like that.
Listen, in Lords of Chaos, it's 45 minutes until someone's cutting arms. Not minute 3. And they're like, look how badass this child is. I was like, no.
Okay, here's the I mean, not to jump the gun, but this is why this movie is bad, is that if you make a biopic about people that are still alive, they are executive producers. And when they're executive producers, they say stuff like, no, it would be more badass. I definitely screamed at my mom this way. This whole movie is basically 4 people who are still alive trying to pretend that they mattered. And
Yeah.
that's really the thesis. And
That's
the reason,
why I'm obsessed with it, because
Yeah.
the whole perspective is so funny.
But that's what
'cause-
makes Tommy Lee so funny, because Tommy Lee is basically like, yeah, I had the perfect life. I had a great mom. I had a great dad. I could play drums, and I loved hitting women.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
I listen. This movie had a lot of effects on me, mostly that I want to own many pairs of leather pants. Please send me your leather pants. But yeah, Tommy Lee's arc in this movie is wild.
It's really wild.
Yeah.
Because the beginning of his story is like really compelling stuff. It's probably my favorite part of the movie is him when he's young and hanging out at his parents' house. Because it's like it feels the most real out of anything that is in it. Is just
it's like it wasn't a struggle. I was just like a kid who loved rock and roll.
And like adorable, supportive parents who are like, "You're so good at the drums, Tommy," and he's like, "I know, I am. I'm gonna wear my sister's pants," and they're like, "You do that? It's great. Go to the show." And he's like, "I'm gonna go to the show, and I love the band. I'm so excited."
No, that wasn't the story.
Yeah,
That's
it
not
was.
what happened.
Yeah, it
At the
is
beginning,
what
yeah.
at the beginning.
Okay,
yeah.
well, you were describing as if that's like if all of those scenes were like a good chunk of the movie.
No, they're not.
That
They're not
is-
at all, and that's
that
a
is
problem.
2 minutes of the movie. He's just like, "Hey, Dad," and he's like, "Hey, son, great job wearing that wig," and he's like, "I know,
Tommy Lee.
good job, Machine Gun Kelly. You were acting like Tommy Lee." You are clearly a 34-year-old man, but I guess you're 17 in this scene.
Yeah.
And then he goes, and then Tommy Lee goes to see any band at some, at like a,
Sunset
at a
Strip
joint.
type
Yeah,
place.
it's like, yeah, I
But
get,
you're right.
I
No,
get
it's not a big chunk of the movie, and that's a problem for the movie because it should be, because that's the most compelling thing in the movie.
I still think that the guy with the bone rotting disease is.
Yeah.
That's the most interesting story of how is that not the focus of Mötley Crüe? Our guitar player one day will not be able to do this.
Yeah.
Because of like he was right. It's a curse. I'm like, that's an interesting movie. That's an interesting
The
story. And I
perspective-
did not even know that about this band until this.
The perspective on Mick Mars in this movie, though, is so weird.
It's so
because he definitely was older than them, but when you are 10 years older than someone and they are all 19, that means he's just like 30, which is still annoying, but he's not like ancient, but also like if you're in Mötley Crüe, you're definitely fucking. They try to play Mick Mars like he's like some saint in this movie where he like abstains from partying the same way. Like
he's too busy
he's
thinking
saying,
about
yeah,
aliens.
he's like, let's protect the women or whatever. But like, no, I mean, come on, it's Mötley fucking Crüe. That dude was neck deep.
The other kind of neck deep.
Both of them.
He is
Both
talking about
guys.
aliens a lot.
I don't know. Well, he's got a bone rotting disease. I think that might include his dick.
Yeah, but the thing is that the guy with bone-itis, he's like, his story, all of these stories are basically Nikki Sixx just being like, all right, well, I had a shitty childhood, so you must have had the best childhood in the world, Tommy Lee, because you never stabbed yourself with a knife in front of your mom. Like, and then Mick Mars is like, he's like, oh wow, Mick Mars must abstain from sex because I never walked in on him fucking in a bathroom.
I know.
You know? There's did anyone read the the things that were missing from this movie, like the famous stories?
No,
I know
I didn't.
I know some of them because I love rock and roll history.
I read it
everybody.
afterwards because I was curious, like what was wrong. And apparently, the night that to jump a little forward, when they kill
When they get in a car accident with the guy with the T-Rex hat.
Yeah, the guy, which Hanoi Rocks. What an upsetting band name that is. Hanoi was the band he was in.
Oh, I didn't even realize that guy was in a band. I thought he was just hanging out with them.
No.
Yeah.
They didn't establish that guy well.
Yeah, when they get in the car accident with the guy from the Mighty Boosh, the reason why Mick Mars isn't in that scene. The reason why Mick Mars isn't in that scene.
Wait,
is
Drew. Hold on,
apparently-
Drew's talking about how they got in a car accident with Hugh Jackman in The Greatest Show.
Yeah.
How do they not get Noel Fielding in this movie? This feels like real. Like
Because he was like, I'm old and I'm over it.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, calm down. Drew, please, talking about Screw Eye from We're Back dying in this movie.
Isn't Jay Leno in that movie?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
moving on.
He's the Triceratops.
Everyone in this movie looks like they're in Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Let Drew say his point.
Everyone in this movie looks like at any point they could pull a giant sword out of midair. Like it just
They're all on Mind Freak. They're all on Mind Freak.
Every single person in this movie was dressed at Abracadabra.
Everybody in this
bought
movie looks
clothes
like
there.
a Cajun pirate.
What?
A Cajun pirate. All right.
All right, what were you saying? Okay.
Do we have any more?
So apparently during that scene, in real life what had happened is that Mick Mars had like almost drank himself to death and went out to the beach, and Nikki Sixx went outside, saw that Mick Mars was almost dead, and was like, I'm gonna leave this alone. Goes back into the house. Car accident happens. Everybody's crying. Mick Mars wakes up from the beach, thinks that he is dead. 100% thinks that he overdosed or whatever and drowned and died because he walks back into the house thinking he's a ghost, and everybody's crying. He's like, oh my God, they're crying for me. And it took him like 20 minutes to realize that they were crying because of the car accident and not because Mick Mars was fucking the ghost of Christmas Future. I think that story is so funny.
That's such a bummer too, because it's like a double whammy. Because it's like, no one even noticed you were gone, man.
Yeah.
I know. This is a movie that I was like, it has no through line or perspective or anything. It is literally just the tropes of a biopic as one movie. It's like everything they're making fun of in Walk Hard is this movie. I wanted them to like pick a thing. Like they found a way to like make this movie dance around like all of the reasoning. Cause I think that what I realized when I was like trying to become trying to get into Mötley Crüe in high school is I realized that it wasn't about anything. There isn't really anything special about this band.
No,
they
there
just have
is.
like they don't really know what they are or what they want to do. They just want to be drunk. Like
Yeah,
that's-
they're just Sunset Strip party boys.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I kind of wanted to see, like, in this movie, I'm like, all right, if the whole band is about partying, I want to see, like, how they kind of grow into that, or, like, where it kind of starts for the, I guess, like, because that's what the movie is that people who idolize partying and the concept and, like, that rockstar lifestyle, and, like, the only thing that even comes close to that is Nikki Sixx listening to music, like listening to T-Rex once, and then he mentions Van Halen, and then they're already in this band.
Yeah.
Like, they build the band. It's I've never seen a band, a biopic where the band is literally just built in a few seconds in an apartment.
Yeah.
I will say there's just little like snips here and there where you're like, everyone's doing excellent imitations of people.
Really?
I think Machine Gun Kelly does a spot on Tommy Lee when he's hitting on Heather Locklear.
Yeah.
On the veranda. He sounds exactly like him,
Yeah.
cadence-wise.
I think
but mostly, I mean, this is a bad movie. I'm not saying it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's enjoyable.
Out of the four of them, who do you think did the best job?
I mean, it's not their fault because the real guys are sitting there insisting that they look sexier, sound sexier.
Be cooler. You have to be cooler
like,
in this
it's
scene.
nobody's fault that it's, they're not all jacked up.
The
as
thing
the
is, when I
real-
wrect that car and killed that guy, it was cool. Be cool when you do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how...
I think. Well, do you want? I think the most compelling, the only actors in this movie who are kind of landing somewhere in a universe of an acceptable performance are the choppy pee-pee guy from Game of Thrones as Mick Mars, and I guess Pete Davidson is fine.
I think Pete Davidson does a good job. I think we disagreed on this earlier before we started recording, but
I
I
don't
think
think
Pete
he's
Davidson does a
bad.
decent job in this movie.
I
I'm very
think-
surprised by it.
I think he does. I think he's the.
I think he's just
in
playing...
it.
I just think he's just playing... Yeah, he's just, like, talking.
He's
Yeah.
just like acting in the movie, and he fits, unlike everybody else who's doing a bad job of acting.
Okay, I have a crazy hot take.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that all of the acting was like fine in levels of like if it was a Mad TV sketch. I don't think that they're not working with a lot, right?
Right,
So,
they're not.
What's interesting to me is I think there's no way this could have been a good movie because in order to have a good screenplay, you have to have characters that learn their lesson. And literally the only lesson learned is, oh, my daughter has cancer. Like,
but that thing is a lie too, because I mean, she did have cancer, but they totally don't talk about how during that time period, Vince Neil tried to launch a solo career.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. The whole movie is like a bunch of lies trying to rewrite the past for some old people who have a lot of money. But the most interesting and most compelling story to me is the manager, who happens to be two managers, because this movie was directed by Jeff Tremaine, who did all of Jackass.
Really?
What?
Yeah, the
That
guy
makes so much sense.
Yes, I mean
Why
that's
does
that's
that
why
make
this movie
sense?
feels like, because the movie is about people throwing sinks in a hallway and you're supposed to be on their side, you know?
Right.
The frenetic energy of all those scenes where like Tommy Lee's running around in his underwear, they're partying super hard, and like shit's going crazy all over the place. Like you can see in the way that that's like viewed that it's somebody who has a lot of experience shooting that type of thing.
Yes.
But also, like Drew said, that like we're supposed to be sympathetic to it instead of being like these guys are being jackasses.
Yeah.
Right. I think I get the point of it, but cinematically, I don't think that there's. I didn't notice it. It wasn't like a Sam Raimi movie where you're like, oh wow, this is such artful goop. You know what I mean? Like it's not that. It's not like that is well put together. It is not hard to pull a camera backwards and be like, all right, when you round down the hall, throw glass. That is all that happens in that. Like it's not like, oh, they don't build anything. Like the most artful shot is that a TV falls into frame once and then crushes a car.
I disagree. I think any scene with real life is shot pretty stock, and it's just kind of like over the shoulder wide. But
I agree.
Any scene where there's action is shot really well. I mean, the scene where the Tommy Lee explains what his night is like is
that's
the
what I'm
only
thinking.
redeemable thing from that movie. Like literally that shot you should watch that movie, that part over and over again. It's done so well. And the reason why that's where I get my hot take from is that I realized as I'm watching it and knowing that Jeff Tremaine directed, I'm like, oh, that story of this guy who's getting paid a ton of money to do damage control for this band is the story of Jeff Tremaine, the guy who had to wrangle in everybody from Jackass, you know? That's his story. And I think it's like kind of the most developed, where he's like, yeah, I hate this, but I do it for money and I love getting paid and I'm good at what I do. When he punches Tommy Lee and Tommy Lee realizes that that's why he wakes up every morning handcuffed, it's not because he's been sleeping with someone, it's because that was the only way to keep him from destroying a microwave for no reason. I thought that fucking was awesome. I love that.
Yeah, that little sick. I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna reframe what Drew said and just that little segment I thought was really well done. It just sucks that it's like sandwiched between nonsensical shit. Like it just felt so out of the blue suddenly.
Yeah. I think there are pieces of this movie that are, have somewhat of. There's pieces of the movie where I'm like, oh, I would like to see a version of this movie told in this way. Like when they meet the manager and the manager goes or someone goes, that isn't how it happened.
Yeah.
I think it would be awesome if the entire movie was, we're watching a scene and then the way that Mötley Crüe wants us to see it, and then we watch it from a very realistic, disconnected perspective I think that shit would rule. I agree. I liked the POV sequence. I think that sequence was fine. It was cool, but it wasn't the first time I had seen something like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It was fine. I feel like I've seen in biopics specifically, like a drunk guy walking around partying and there's POV of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's enough of a trope that we literally parodied it. We parodied it with Chris the Bat in that one episode.
Yeah, of course.
We literally did that same thing because it's enough of a thing that people would see it and it would be part of a visual language they'd understand.
Well, when I was harnessing the Menage scene of that and thinking about the cinema verite of what it would be like if a flying rat was vomiting in a toilet.
Yeah. Well, either way, yeah. I think that there are that I don't think that anyone behind the camera did a shit job of this movie. This movie looks extremely competent.
Yeah.
Nothing actually looks bad. The only shot that's genuinely not great is when they pan from a bar pillar to see Vince Neil drinking in a ocean-themed bar with a fake beard. That's the only shot that was distracting. Otherwise, it's a perfectly fine. It's a everybody doing the visual job in this movie did a totally fine job.
Yeah. Can we talk about talking about visual things though? Some of these practical effects of like beards and wigs.
Oh yeah.
The wigs in this movie. Who let that happen?
The 80s. That's what they looked like.
No.
You should look at photos. They looked terrible back then when they were real too.
I know. I'm not saying their hair wasn't. No, I'm saying the quality and placement.
Yeah.
Dear Drewby.
No, but I mean that. Like, they look like they're wearing wigs. If you told me that everybody in Mötley Crüe had chemo and wore wigs, I would believe you.
What is with everyone today?
They are bad wigs. Like,
they're bad wigs.
Look at we're looking at the still shot on my TV right now.
Yeah.
And fucking Vince Neil looks like John Denver.
Can we talk about how at the end of the movie someone had to paint tattoos over Machine Gun Kelly's tattoos?
Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly famously covered in fucking tattoos. They had to paint over his tattoos and then paint new tattoos on top because the discerning viewer would see it and be like, well, those aren't Tommy Lee's tattoos, and that takes me out of this.
That's not Tommy Lee's area code tattooed on his neck. That's someone else's area code.
Oh, wait, that's his social security number.
Tattoos in movies are never good, though. I don't know why, because every makeup artist has tattoos. Like, you can't be a makeup artist unless you have a fucking, like, terrible
Do you know
tattoo.
why, like, makeup never looks like an actual tattoo? It's because it's literally injected into your fucking skin.
Yeah.
It's hard to do.
Yeah,
When
no, I
you
know.
see what, like, Place Beyond the Pines, like, all of Ryan Gosling's fake tattoos look crazy.
Yeah.
It looks...
Well, because they always look like they're brand fucking new because they're on top of your skin, and you look like that guy from Maroon 5. Right? The guy who, like, very clearly got his whole body tattooed in one sitting.
And that, before the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I gotta get out there before I start itching.
Yeah, he's out there doing the slap itch. The whole time trying to play it off like he's doing the beat along with the song.
But he's fucking peeling.
He leaves a whole snake skin out there.
Listen,
He's molting on stage.
that slimy man clearly has a lot of body dysmorphia, and I, for one, hope he gets help.
I agree. All right. This movie, can we talk about the Austin Powers impersonator they got to play Ozzy Osbourne?
Yeah, there were so many opportunities in this movie to have other famous musicians in it, which is what I wanted from it. And because these dudes are alive and such egomaniacs, they're like, we don't need that. I'm like, yes, I do. I want to see you guys open up for Rat or whatever. Yeah. And because that's what they were doing. Because a big misnomer is that first show where they get in the fist fight, like, they just put on themselves. No, they were, like, Nikki Sixx was already in band, so, like, they were opening up for, like, really big acts out the gate. So it's like, yeah, I want to see that shit. I want to see more of a bad David Lee Roth. They had that one kind of axe-looking dude doing heroin, but, like, I want the whole thing. I want them all. I want bad wigs and imitation.
Yeah, I can't believe they put David Lee Roth in the movie, and he's not going to be shouting. He's calmly doing cocaine on a couch. That is never... David Lee Roth has never done cocaine sitting down. They
said that scene never happened, though. That's why it never happened, because the real David Lee Roth wouldn't have let that happen. He would have never been caught anywhere near those assholes.
The real David Lee Roth is like doing karate kicks to random people at the party.
Yeah.
Made him like Jim Morrison. No, David Lee Roth is screaming.
No, because what it is David Lee Roth, first of all, wouldn't come over their fucking, like, slumlord house because he's like, "You're gonna dirty my kimonos."
Yeah, 100%.
He's like, "You come over my house," where yes, he is karate kicking people.
Listen, boys, I'd love to come hang out with you, okay? But I don't think my 10-foot cowboy hat is gonna fit in the doorway, so we're gonna have to move this party elsewhere.
Somewhere with industrial clearance.
But yeah, I would have really loved to see
Okay.
like they had like David Lee Roth supposedly for 2 seconds in that really bad Ozzy Osbourne. But I really would have.
You guys didn't like the Ozzy? I loved
No.
the Ozzy. I loved Ozzy.
I loved the ass. I loved the ass and the snorting ants, and I liked the concept of it. But that guy, that Ozzy voice was
It was so bad. Do bats make you horny, baby?
yeah.
No, he sounded like 80s Ozzy. Like, what's that famous documentary that he cooks the eggs in the kitchen while wearing like his wife's clothing?
No, I know what you're talking about.
I thought he sounded like Ozzy. I think the thing is that like you can do an Ozzy impression where he sounds like riddled with drugs and shit, but like this Ozzy is supposed to be in his early 30s. Like he's still kind of in control of his body. I thought it was great. Honestly,
No.
I would watch a whole movie of that guy as Ozzy.
I would not. That guy didn't. He had the Ozzy tattoos looked like Ozzy tattoos, and the Ozzy wig was the best wig.
He
in
didn't
this
have
movie.
Ozzy's
The
ass.
Ozzy. What?
He did not have Ozzy's ass though. That is for sure.
He did not have Ozzy's ass, but that guy didn't. That guy's face. They clearly cast that guy because he had a decent Ozzy voice, but it really sounded too much like actual Austin Powers to me. Like the whole time I was like, that guy is Austin Powers. He clearly has Austin Powers teeth, which Ozzy didn't have. I think it was. I think as far as impersonations go, I'm pretty sure they could have just. I don't know. I thought it was bad.
Yeah.
Who cares? I thought.
Well, and it's another
to do a good Ozzy to make me like the Ozzy. They also didn't make me like Ozzy doing antics in this movie.
Frankly, you just gotta be Ben Kohler. Like that's
Yeah,
just what it
absolutely.
needed to be. They should have hired our boy.
Hi, call Ben Kohler. He does a great job. But
Call Ben, then call me. I'll do anything. I need another job, and I'm so broke.
I saw a man snort ants and drink piss, and I was bored and upset.
Yeah, you were bored and upset because that was like they had already done so many antics, and at this point you'd realized, oh, antics aren't cool. We're adults. This is sad. This is painful.
Yeah.
The thing is that if it was an Ozzy Osbourne movie, you would have 5 key antics. You'd have him, piss on the Alamo. You'd have him snort ants. You'd have him bite off a bat. By the bat, you feel bad because you kill an animal. No one wants to see that. But the thing is that this movie is all about antics without consequences. Because I bet you Vince Neil like walks into a hotel and just for fun kicks over the garbage can and is like, yeah, Mötley Crüe. Like these guys don't feel bad about anything they did, and there's never a moment of remorse in the movies.
Yeah,
so like
right.
why would you want to watch these antics? I don't know. At least with Jackass, it's like they're doing it to themselves. That's like what is enjoyable about Jackass. This is them. They throw they throw shit on somebody's beautiful car.
Yeah, well that's what I mean. I was like, I don't get what the perspective of the movie is. Like, is it just is that also what's enjoyable about the book? I said earlier, Drew, before you got on, I read the wrong Mötley Crüe book.
There's multiple Mötley Crüe books.
Yes, both written by Nikki Sixx wrote a follow-up to this called like The Heroin Diaries, and I thought it was the book everyone was talking about. Apparently, but it's not as good because it wasn't written by the fucking the pickup artist. Neil Strauss fucking wrote this.
Can we talk about the heroin for a second? Because they made the heroin look like it was like 13 Reasons Why or some like teen movie. He goes into his special heroin cave. He shoots up and he just sits there and drools.
Okay, so the heroin scenes, yes. Like, he has like a beautiful closet that is like a bohemian opium den.
Yeah.
A lot of I always wondered why hair metal dudes love silk scarves so much. It's because for all the heroin you do with them, apparently. But also, like, this movie is about fun without consequences for most of it, and then suddenly out of nowhere, the most graphic needle in arm action I've ever seen, and
Disgusting.
it like genuinely upset me. to look at, and I watch horror movies on the regs.
Yeah.
Yeah, watching that was very upset. I don't know why everybody just wants to be. This is like a thing that they want to do. Like they did it in like Lords of Chaos. Like this is the scene everybody's like waiting for. So we got to do the graphic part. Like we got to do the most graphic guy shooting himself in the face scene ever. We got to do the most graphic needles in the arms. Like this is the moment. Like it's because they built this movie like it's Spider-Man. Like they're all sitting around drawing the Mötley Crüe logo, like Tobey Maguire drawing the suit.
Yeah.
And then like we got to get the origin story right. I'm like it's the heroin scene, man. I want to see needles dangling in arms.
Yeah, this is their version of the "with great power comes great responsibility" scene.
I know, yeah.
It's just like it's got to be in there. It's got to be in there. You got to make it big. It's got to be the most memorable scene.
And when they inevitably like remake this movie, they're like, we gotta one up it. I want to see Nikki Sixx in front of Big Boy Deli by Myrtle Broadway.
I want him with one of those weird leprosy, like 7 needle sets just going into his arm all at once.
Reanimator.
That's the gross thing about it, is that they have him. He only does heroin in 2 places. He does it in his beautiful heroin closet, and he does it in like the most beautiful shanty house I've ever seen. Like he's in a beautiful house. Everybody's dressed well. No one has shit themselves, and that's where he ODs. Like there's never like he's on the road. They don't actually show like that heroin is ruining his life. They just show that heroin is ruining his arms and in between his toes. Like it's really weird.
And it's ruining his friends' lives because they do have the scene where he's like fucked up at Tommy Lee's wedding.
Yeah, but they leave out the part of that everybody... See, I don't buy that for a second because everybody was fucked up at Tommy Lee's wedding.
Yeah.
At no point do they ever show, like, that people are so drunk that they're pissing themselves. Like, that whole scene where he kills everybody in the car, like, it should have been a scene where it was, like, he's drooling and, like, fucking crying and is like, I'm gonna get more beer, but he's basically speaking in Spanish at that point. Everybody's like, yes, get behind the wheel and drive. Instead, they have... like this beautiful like monologue from like fucking 40-year-old virgin or something, like, hey, if you could fuck one person, who would it be? Instead of it just being like and then they kill someone.
And don't they do in that scene, I haven't watched this in like a month, but in that scene, don't they do like that super cliche like somebody is dying monologue where he's like, it looks like Christmas lights, and he's like, you look at those lights, there's gifts under the tree just for you.
Yeah, it was 100%. I see a Thanksgiving turkey. Take a bite, man. Get some potatoes.
Oi, man, I'm dying. Do me a favor and drink one last beer and hit one more car before you leave in the ambulance.
We don't have Thanksgiving turkeys where I'm from. What do we...
Can I talk about the OD scene real quick? I love that literally the medic, the only black person in the movie, by the way. The medic was like, this is Nikki fucking Sixx. He's not dying on my watch. That didn't happen. That person was like, I don't know, give me a bunch of shit. This rat fink drawing is fucking gonna die.
You know what's the worst thing is that every YouTube comment is going to be like, actually that happened. There are 2 sources that you can cite. 1, the book that Nikki Sixx wrote, and 2, the book that an ambulance driver wrote where he also made money.
I want just any interview with the ambulance guy. It's like, yeah, man, I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to lose another Ramon, so I was like,
he's like, yeah, I saw this guy and I just like made up some shit off the top of my head. I said, I don't know, Nikki Sixx, and they're like, that's actually his name, and I'm like, holy shit, I just fucking made that up. Isn't that wild?
I would love if he was just making up catchphrases. Bananas are for quitters.
We can't lose another Ramon.
I don't fucking know, man.
Yeah, what else is there to cover?
I
don't do the fucking sex tape. The sex tape's not in the movie, and I'm very surprised at that.
Pamela Anderson isn't in the movie.
Yeah, they stop at the 90s where they're going on stage for a reunion. It's like, and then we continue to be the most popular and beloved band ever.
Yeah.
And ever and ever. You know, Mötley Crüe, your favorite band.
Yeah,
they stopped when it noticeably got sad for everybody in the world. Like to watch those guys still be the same as they're approaching their 40s, you know?
For sure.
Yeah, 100%. Well, like I'm trying to think of like, because this movie is crazy. I want to know, like, because it is. I've heard people talk so much about like this movie, this story. I'm like, what is interesting about it? Just like all the shit that they did, like all the awful things.
Yeah.
Is that why the book is famous?
You realize that once you quit drinking is that you realize that every drinking story that you have is, oh, so this one time I was being an asshole, you know?
Well, so like, I mean, yeah, I guess that's the only version of this movie that works is if you kind of tell it as like a cautionary tale. Like that's, I don't know. Again, this is just the problem with like every like rock and roll movie is they're like, look how cool this is, and rock and roll isn't fucking cool.
It's not cool. Nothing that they do in this movie is cool. It always feels like everything around them smells bad. It feels like they're like waking up with like tummy aches every single morning in this movie. Like they can't feel good ever, right?
Well, that's what, I will say that is the very impressive thing about Mötley Crüe is that they were so fucked up on everything and they managed to play all those shows and it's really like shows you the tenacity of teenagers.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm like terrified to go on stage if I've had like a little hit of weed. I will never go on stage
talk
if
like
I've
a
smoked.
space alien.
Yeah, I can't do, but that, that's the other thing is I know they don't do a good job on stage when they play this fucked up. Like I know a guy who was like a session drummer and played for solo Vince Neil, and he told me like he was literally the fill-in drummer for Mötley Crüe. If like Tommy Lee couldn't play, this is the guy. And he told me a story about playing with Vince Neil one time, and Vince Neil was so fucking drunk and just not making any sense. And they had he was like, we just finished playing Red Hot. And Vince Neil comes over and starts sweating on my drums. And I'm like, hey, okay, are you okay, bud? Yeah. It's like, what are we playing? What are we playing now? He's like, Red Hot. He's like, we just played Red Hot. He goes, Red Hot. And he's like, and then I guess we just played Red Hot again. That's what playing shows with people like that is that they're just fucking messes. Like they don't do a good job. It's not cool. It's really sad.
I think the way that they could have fixed this movie though is if they tried to reframe it as if it was like a sports movie where the whole narrative of it is just like, Tommy Lee, you're so fucked up right now. He's like, I know, man. I'm real fucked up, but I gotta get on stage. You can't get on stage that fucked up. Watch me. Watch me. And he gets on stage and he fucking like whips ass and they do like a slow-mo scene of him just like drumming as he pukes and you're just like, man, I can't believe he fucking did it.
What I wanted to see is when he starts dreaming of the spinning around like drum set, I wanted to see like scenes throughout the movie of them trying to build it and it failing. And then finally by the end it spins all the way around until the last concert the drums get stuck upside down and it has to go backwards.
I want to build a drum set that spins around. Get me Rube Goldberg. Tommy, Rube Goldberg is dead. I have more money than God. Dig up his body.
Dig up his body. But I don't know. I think there is like, I think there's an interesting way to maybe tell a story about this. I mean, I get like.
Well, you'd have to be from the perspective of not the band, because what this movie is about that everyone's dancing around. This is a movie about how rock and roll ruined all their relationships and their family, and the only people they could count on is each other because they were all dependent on each other to continue living as like the most drunken miscreants in the world. You know, like literally the most accurate portrayal of like a musician's relationship is every time Tommy Lee's on a payphone being like, Heather Locklear from TV is mad at me because I'm not home. You know, like that's why the daughter thing is so ridiculous, because the daughter appears 3 times. The first time is his wife, who's a mud wrestler, is pregnant. The second time she is leaving him and won't let his daughter stay for the show. And the third time she's in the hospital. You know, like there's never a moment where they're like, oh, wow, I just got out of jail for killing a person. I have a court-ordered sobriety. Maybe I should spend time with my family. They don't even show that. He just spends time sulking.
Yeah. Yeah, and they were like, what drives them apart isn't really there. I think the problem is that their perspective on it's just that their perspective on the band isn't what it is. Like the narrative of like no one has ever sounded like this before is not true.
It's not true at all.
Like they reference bands were already doing this. They should be like, we should just do what they're doing, but like to the extreme. Like let's just do it. Let's wear the most makeup. Let's have the biggest hair.
Right.
Because that's and all that shit. And like, I think
I think one of the biggest problems of the movie is that it's told from the perspective of people who have experienced the consequences of their actions, but don't think that their actions warrant cool. Like, they know that, like, what they did led to bad things. And they're like, man, it sure got hairy there for a little bit. I'm glad that we're past that. But, man, wasn't it cool while that was happening? You know what I mean? They still don't think that what they did wasn't cool. Like, we're watching this as adults just like, holy shit, that guy's drinking piss. That's, like, a rock bottom moment for somebody for sure. Yeah. But they think it's cool. And the problem is that the director is the jackass guy who also thinks it's cool. So the whole thing is presented as, like, wow, these antics sure are crazy and dangerous. Isn't this fun? And then something happens and you're like, well, sometimes the fun's got to stop. That sucks. You know what I mean? Like, it
ends with murder.
Okay. But I did listen to a lot of Mötley Crüe after I watched this movie the first time.
That's true, yeah. It's a good commercial for Mötley Crüe.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I have listened to more Mötley Crüe than I probably ever have in my life after seeing this.
I'm going to tell you that I did the opposite. I don't think I will ever listen to Mötley Crüe again because I don't care. But what I did have to listen to was in the beginning, the first time they play Livewire, I wasn't sure if that was Vince Neil or if that was the dude who played Oswald in 11/23 or 26/63.
What?
The guy who played Vince Neil. I was trying to figure out the whole movie. I'm like, how do I know this guy? He played Lee Harvey Oswald in the James Franco JFK movie that's on Hulu.
What?
It's a cool show. There's a show. Plugs everybody. There's a show on Hulu called 11/26/63, and it's about
after the Stephen King book.
Wait, the first George Lucas movie?
No, that's THX.
THX 1138.
Yeah. No, it's a TV show. It's about it's based off a Stephen King book about like James Franco goes back in time to stop JFK from getting assassinated, and it's really interesting. But that guy who plays Vince Neil played Lee Harvey Oswald in it, and that's why I was like trying to figure out how the fuck I knew him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you're a fan. If you're an 1163 head at home, you might be laughing at this.
I think we have said everything we can say about this movie. Let's wrap.
Oh wait. This is the one thing I had to look it up because I was like, does Vince Neil really sound like Chris from Saves the Day? And that one song is, I think, the only song where he's singing and not Vince Neil, and it sounds exactly like Saves the Day. And I realized that Saves the Day and Mötley Crüe are the same band.
Okay, this is a weird thing. Also, wait, is it the actor singing? It's not the actor singing.
It might be.
No,
it is in that one scene. It is in the.
It's in the first scene where they find their sound.
Right.
Yeah.
But
right. It kind of explains why it sounds a little bit. Yeah.
So, out of 7 Dragon Balls, Katie?
What? No. No. I will say I like this movie. It is a bad movie. It's a very entertaining movie.
Yeah.
So it's not good. It's entertaining. It's fun as shit. It made me want to buy a pair of leather pants. And yeah, I did go listen to Mötley Crüe afterwards, kicking off my hair metal summer. So you know what? That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it as an easy watch. I'm not going to be out.
Nothing says easy watch like someone squirting out a squirt gun in the first.
I think it's a fun movie. It's stupid as shit. It's not good, but like I am very entertained by it. But I will preface this by saying that I do love shitty rock documentaries and biopics, and I watch a ton of them, and a lot of them are bad. Most of them are bad. So take that with what you will.
Have you guys seen the trailer for this new Bruce Springsteen movie, by the way?
I'm trying to finish this podcast,
Okay.
Jeremy.
Okay. Jordan.
As I love bad movies, I thought that this was really hard to watch. I thought it wasn't as fun or funny. Like laughed at the cringy parts, but it wasn't, to me, it wasn't insane enough to warrant viewing. I'm pretty sure this is what it feels like. It will feel like for me to watch like a Bohemian Rhapsody or something.
Oh, I don't think it's that
this
bad.
This
is
way
way
more
better.
entertaining.
Yeah.
I've
First
seen
of
both.
all,
This is way better.
you don't have to pay to see it in a theater. It's just on Netflix.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, it's just like a Hallmark movie with boobs in it.
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
Great.
Yeah, we talked about that. It was like, this is legitimately a Hallmark movie.
Yeah.
But they're throwing up and whatever. They're throwing up, but it's sexy when they do it. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend watching this, to be honest.
Yeah, I would definitely recommend watching this movie. I think it's a blast. I think it's really stupid and bad, and like there's a lot of stuff in here that you're gonna like see and think to yourself like, wow, I can't believe somebody thought that was a good idea to put into this movie. There's a scene where Tommy Lee, who the whole movie long has been played up as this like wholesome family boy sort of character, just out of left field just like punches his fiance in the face and then just says like, and don't fucking like tell anybody about it or whatever. Like it's something like that.
Yeah,
and then they like never talk about it again, and you're just like, why did you even put that in the movie?
Yeah, maybe don't even put that part in there.
But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's a bad movie with a lot of very questionable decision making in it, but it's also really fun and stupid and funny, and I would recommend watching it. Drew?
Okay, well, it definitely wasn't as bad as Stinky Fists, the story of Tool, but it's not a good movie. I would not recommend it.
Wait, is that a real thing?
It's their
Yes.
song is called like Stink
Yes.
Fist.
Why was anyone defending that band?
They're
Ugh.
dumb. They're dumb fucking musicians who just think that they can like talk about stink fists and also DNA in the same song, and they're like,
Yes.
we're a smart band. We've compared DNA to fisting. It's clever.
That also sounds like they're writing about white power. So what?
Yeah, it's not cool to talk about DNA anymore.
Yeah, who cares?
But the reason I wouldn't recommend this movie actually is because I think if you're kind of dumb, you shouldn't watch this movie. Because if you have like a little bit of critical thinking in your head, you can have a good time. But if you're dumb, you're just gonna be like, oh man, how cool was that movie? First of all, so many tits and no dicks. They did coke off a girl's ass. It was awesome. Like they captured the ethos of all of this like boyish action. Should have showed some dicks. I'm really wish there was more dick in this movie.
There should be more dicks in the movie.
I
Netflix
think they
doesn't
all
have
should have
rules.
showed
Show
their
dick.
dicks. I think they should have put them together.
Done a braid.
Like, because then the metaphor for, or then his, like, him going, this is the only family I've ever had, totally adds up. That's the pathos the movie needed. I just also think there are more fun bad movies to watch than this.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you can just watch Walk Hard, and there's jokes. It's, like, great.
Yeah, but it's not. But I'm saying if you want to watch like a movie that was trying to make a real movie, and not a
it's a different
comedy,
thing.
it's a different comparison.
Like, watch Miami Connection. Like, that's a fun bad movie. You know?
Yeah.
Netflix has a really bad problem with bad movies that aren't actually fun. I watched that John Gotti movie thinking it was going to be fun, and honestly, I've never felt worse in my life. It felt like I ate a car battery. It was terrible.
Okay. Well, that's been the show, everyone.
Yeah.
All right.
Plugs.
Plugs. Find me on Twitter at Jeremy Thunder and listen to Ballin' Out
Super.
Super.
It's a good podcast.
Wait, before we end, sorry. Is there a music movie that you genuinely like about like a musician
That
biopic
I think is good.
that you think is good?
No.
La Bamba.
Yeah, probably no. I don't think I can.
I watch so many of these and I love them and they're all fucking bad. They're all bad.
I can't think of one at all.
I
was gonna
genuinely
say,
like
Rock and
La
Roll High
Bamba.
School because at least it's not trying to be anything more than it is.
But that's not a documentary or a biopic. That's just
it's just like a movie where the Ramones are characters.
that's
Yeah.
different.
Go,
That's a
Drew.
movie.
La Bamba. I thought La Bamba was fun. I like La Bamba.
La Bamba is good. I like.
They eat a rattlesnake.
I haven't seen La Bamba in a long time. I think That Thing You Do is a really cute movie. It's not about a real band or anything, but it's a really cute.
See, no one has a real answer in here either.
No, but I think that Jordan is actually Jordan's onto something, which is that like you can take elements of real people and make them into like a cool story. But for the most part, the real stories are just kind of sad, depressing, and violent towards women.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit.
Folks at home, tweet at us or whatever and tell us if there is a good one, because I'm actually curious.
Well,
I am curious. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
I watched so many of these. Like, I watched the Rush documentary, which is just about how they're fine. Besides the dead one. I watched the Death documentary. I love
those are documentaries, though. Those are good.
Okay, so we're talking about fictional movies. I love Velvet Goldmine, and I know it's not a good movie.
Which one is that?
Okay.
Yeah. I love that movie, and I know you all hate it, and it's okay.
Who is that about?
That is about David Bowie and Iggy Pop, sort of.
Okay.
It is.
It's not good, but I love it.
Yeah. You can love you everyone. I know a lot of people that love it. Oof. It is oof.
Anyways, fucking tweet at us or whatever. Tell us if there's a good movie, because I'm very curious.
Good movie about a real person.
About
a real
about a real
person.
Musician.
Yeah.
Is Ray good?
No.
Ray
No one's seen Ray.
No.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I haven't seen it.
Walk the Line is like okay.
They stop it before it gets interesting.
Walk the Line. I don't remember where it ends.
They stop it before he becomes a weird Christian hippie and
that's
does
right.
all this shit.
Because it stops with him playing at the prison.
Right, which is like there's so much more shit that happens. That's what I'm saying. These aren't good movies. They don't make them good. They're entertaining.
They don't make them good. They don't make them good.
Mama said they don't make them good.
Oh my God. All right, I love this. All right, plugs, Katie, on that.
You can find me on Twitter at Katie Rose. Like Jeremy said, listen to our podcast, Ballin' Out Super.
And
I don't know. Give me money.
Times is tough out here, folks.
Times is tough. They don't make them good. Give me money.
You know what? That's my plug. You guys know where to find me, unfortunately. So just give Katie money. You can find me as Katie's Venmo at Team KRL on Venmo.
Yeah, everybody, please give Katie money. 100%. All right, everybody, please drink some piss. Good night.
So much piss.
So much piss. Yum, yum, yum.
That was dumb.
All right, what do we
Dumb.
do with this?
You just hit the space bar.
The radio. Turn it up.
Zach De La Roca.
Zach De La Roca? Is that what you said?
I was trying to, but it's not.
Zach De La Roca.
Too many syllables.
Yeah, it is too much.
Zach De La.
It's like how I.
Against the machine. Nope, you can't.
It's like how I keep trying to fit the lyrics of "Sweet Fantasy" by Mariah Carey into "Dig" by Mudvayne.
Sweet
Fantasy. Yeah, it's not totally.
It's not impossible. I believe in you. Oh boy.